Hey y'all, this is going to be different from my usual tour review. I'm just making this because I genuinely dislike this person's ideas and what they're trying to perpetuate. And, this is meant to be an attack on the individual. It's just meant to be a critique on what they think and how they believe and why, some stuff can be elaborated on and why stuff can't be elaborated on. And, hopefully you learn something too. So let's get strapped in and let's see what's up.
There's some specific things that we need to put into place that I think would help protect our children, because the minors themselves really don't know who they are until they become 25, 26 years old.
I disagree. I think kids know fundamentally who they are from a young age. It's just whether or not society lets them be who they are.
So no, we don't know fundamentally who we are as kids. That's just a fucking fact, right? I mean, I always thought I would be an anime fan. Guess what? Years later, I'm not one, right? You look at the more extreme angle, someone like Richard Spencer, who was a white supremacist, white separationist. Now he's a Democrat and he's voting for Joe Biden and all that. It's a process of time, right? Kids don't know fundamentally who they are, and that is a fact.
People need gender-affirming care, like breast augmentations, and I'm pretty sure that cis guys can get stuff done down there as well. I don't believe they need to go through all of the psychiatric evaluations that trans people do.
So that's actually false. A mental health thing is required for a lot of cosmetic surgery stuff, and anyways, you don't need cosmetic surgery to just, help feel more like yourself, and we'll get into that more later on in the video, so don't worry about that.
I'm honestly surprised that, there are as many detransitioners as there are because of just the rigorous psychological and medical,
Because people like you are arguing that you don't need gender dysphoria to be transgender. As such, many people detransition after finding out that they just have body dysmorphia or something else going on. But we'll get more into that later on, I suppose.
This was real to everyone else involved. Transition.
There's such a medicalization behind transitioning, obviously because you need hormones, but also because you literally need a psychologist in order to get top surgery, bottom surgery, facial feminization surgery, vocal surgery, hormone. You need a psychologist to do all of this. So
there's this thing now known as gender affirming care, where you can literally go into a so-called psychologist, say you're transgender, and 10 minutes later get a prescription for estrogen and get your thingy cut off. And yeah, it's gone so bad to the point where people who actually are psychologists and actually do question people's gender, they get thrown out of their profession and then ostracized because they aren't affirming their care. Be better, and actually try to research some stuff.
Wild concept to me that I didn't even think that cis people would need hormones too. But fun fact, cis people also use hormones at a young age, and no one really seems to care that that's going to wreck their body or whatever.
I mean, yeah, she's kind of right. People don't often know, but Leo Messi, the soccer player, actually used testosterone as a kid because he was hormone deficient and wouldn't have grown up to be, the man that he is today without things like testosterone to help him grow. So, I mean, yeah, she's right.
You gotta get a second opinion, honey.
Literally.
How was I supposed to do that when my parents were told that I would kill myself?
That's not your fault.
Their biggest crime in all this was trusting in a medical system that they thought would help me, and the professionals apparently not doing the right thing.
I understand, but your parents were responsible for the decisions that were made on your behalf.
Yeah.
What this really highlights is the importance of you sharing your story, because what it shows is that you can't jump into these transitions, and you shouldn't listen to these doctors that push you to transition just because you're feeling a certain way.
I really like that she fucking said that. I like the fact that no one blames her for what happened to her. They literally blame her parents, which, yes, I blame her parents, and the medical people who were pushing her.
So this just shows more of Lynn Saga's ignorance. I mean, it's literally a law, at least in California, that if you don't affirm your child's gender, that they can be taken away from you. And considering the fact that Luca was sexually exploited in the past, she likely had a lot of trauma, and her parents were just doing what they thought was going to be best for their child to help them live authentically as themselves. And they were afraid of their kid, being taken away from them. So they did what they thought was best for their kid. And Lynn Saga not being able to see this or even say it's the parents' fault, I think it's highly inappropriate, and I think she has to do better and be better. And this goes back to what I was saying earlier, where there is a thing called gender affirming care. Luca's first intervention was a double mastectomy. That's not even what they do with someone who has breast cancer. Just for a clarification, right? I mean, just Lynn Saga's so ignorant on a lot of things.
Watching her channel, and it inspires me to transition. I have been watching white straight men be president for years.
Yep.
I do not want to be president once, so I don't identify with that. We're going to talk about brainwashing. Let's talk about where we see things every single day happening a certain way versus someone just living their life authentically.
People with gender dysphoria need therapy, not...
So this is a stupid way of saying it. If you wanted to say something along the lines of, hey, not everything influences you, you could have easily used the object of video games, right? A lot of 90s kids grew up playing games like Mortal Kombat, and it didn't make them any more violent or aggressive, right? And it's just be better, man, honestly.
I feel like transgender is definitely, and elderly trans people afford for it to be classified as mental illness, so it's covered by insurance. Otherwise, why are you getting the surgeries to...
But then why the fucking cis people are able to get...
So if Lynn Saga had an ounce of critical thinking, she would be able to understand what Shape was saying. Shape is the reason that conservatives and Republicans are able to accept transgender people is because of gender dysphoria. Gender dysphoria is the symptom that arises that makes someone transgender, obviously, right? But people like Lynn Saga and Ryan Beard are actively trying to take that away from actual transgender people. But because it is a recognized medical condition, that means that insurance can cover it, which means that lots of transgender people are able to save their lives every year by having this covered by insurance, who maybe aren't able to be able to afford it, right? But if you say that you don't need gender dysphoria in order to be transgender, like Ryan Beard says, like Lynn Saga says, then essentially insurance companies don't actually have to pay for your surgeries, your life-saving surgery. And then now you are actively taking away healthcare from actual transgender people, right? That is the entire point that Shape was saying. Maybe if you had some actual cognitive skills and actually passed middle school, you'll be able to understand basic thought. And I don't know if you know anything about finances, Lynn, but guess what? Insurance doesn't have to pay for your cosmetic surgery. No straight woman was ever saved by having triple M boobs. It's the same way that no straight guy was ever saved by having a bigger dick. That is the point that Shape is saying. If you say that you don't need gender dysphoria to be transgender, then essentially you are just getting these cosmetic surgeries in order to just make yourself look better. And again, in that way, you are invalidating people with actual gender dysphoria, and you are invalidating people who actually struggle with it on a day-to-day basis. And if this train of thought continues, this means that insurance companies won't have to pay for this life-saving surgery that has helped out so many people.
Yeah, she was misdiagnosed, but now she does have gender dysphoria because of because of transitioning. So how can she say that like other people don't have gender dysphoria if she literally has gender dysphoria? Like, I don't get it.
And she told me we had to tell your parents.
So Lynn Saga, you don't get it, one, because you are not transgender, and two, Luca never said that some people don't have gender dysphoria. All she is saying is that to know for sure that you do have gender dysphoria is that it has to be insistent, consistent, and persistent, which is something that Samantha Lux even agrees with.
Okay, so as a Christian, I truly believe that God created male and female.
God isn't even male or female. God has no body. So what the fuck do you even mean? Literally, Christians believe that God has. Okay, certain sects of Christians don't believe.
So once again, Lynn Saga's ignorance is showing again. First of all, God is a dude, right? In almost every passage I could find, he is referred to as our Father, our Savior, our Lord, he and him, right? So it just seems weird that, Lynn, you would go out of your way to misgender him, right? But another thing too, him having no body, he is omnipresent, right? Which means omnipresent and omnipotent, which means he is everywhere and nowhere at the same time. He is a presence. So I guess she's good with that, but still, I would wonder why you would misgender God when he is referred to as a father and as he, him throughout the Bible. But whatever, I guess.
We believe that he has a body, to further impose patriarchal bullshit on people. But like the majority of,
Again, Lynn Saga's stupidity shows through. How is God having a body somehow related to fucking patriarchy? Is having a masculine body somehow related to patriarchy? If that's so, I noticed that you have some kind of body dysmorphia with your upper chest area. Does that mean that you want to appear more masculine? Does that mean you're perpetuating patriarchy? Careful how you word shit or how you phrase shit, because when it gets turned back on you, you can't be like, I'm the exception. No, bitch, you set the rules.
Sides of, well, there's these asexual creatures and stuff like that. Well, they were designed that way for a reason.
What the fuck?
We humans were not designed to.
Is he invalidating ace people too? Oh my god. Am I about to fight this man?
Procreate and be able to bring life back to the earth, because we live and we die, we live and we die. It's a rotation of a process of life in itself, and it's.
I'm about to fight this man.
So I truly do believe that there is male and there is female, but I can respect people's choices.
Literally. I'm sorry. Did you say asexual creatures?
The amount of brain cells that Lynn Saga is choosing not to use is honestly impressive. Now, maybe it just didn't graduate middle school, but there are asexual creatures, which means that they can reproduce without needing a partner. Plants and snails are a prominent example that immediately come to my mind. They're hermaphrodites, meaning that they have both sex organs. They can literally go fuck themselves. And considering the fact that on your TikTok and YouTube shorts, you like to weirdly make underage cartoon characters gay for whatever reason, I'll use this in a language that you can understand. Piccolo from Dragon Ball is asexual. One, he has very sexual feelings, very low sexual feelings, but two, he can reproduce asexually. Namekians literally can just lay an egg whenever they fucking want to. That is reproducing asexually. Again, I'm honestly impressed with the amount of, brain cells you're not using, because that's honestly impressive. That's honestly impressive. I'll give you props for that, Lynn Saga, but be better. Again, maybe it was just a bad day or something. You just weren't thinking that critically, but like, dude, come on, man. An elementary schooler could figure this logic out, and it's honestly sad that you can't.
How does that make sense? Like, from this person who uses all pronouns, literally saying, I believe that there are only two sexes, but you feel comfortable using all, like, I know pronouns don't equivalent.
Hold on, I thought sex and gender were different. All Shape is saying that sex is binary, which is correct. There are sometimes asexual people, and gender is on a spectrum. That is why Shape is gender fluid, and they use all those pronouns. Like, you literally just answered it yourself. How can you lack this much critical thinking? Like, honestly. Ugh.
Cross-dressing, we have references to eunuchs. And as somebody who went through transition and detransition, when I started taking testosterone, it's almost like reminded me of my original blueprint. And I feel like I went against my original blueprint and I did a lot of damage to
What
it.
do you
and I just
mean
did
your
not go
original
back to
blueprint?
who I was, because without my testicles, I'm just too far gone in my transition. So that's where I'm at.
Can I disagree a step forward?
What are they saying? I don't
I
understand.
thought the terms were literally assigned a male at birth and assigned female at birth. You guys are the ones who made these terms like we're robots coming out of a fucking conveyor belt. All Shape did was play into the goddamn metaphor. Like, the amount of brain cells you are not using is honestly admirable, Lynn. But, like, goddamn, dude, like, Jesus fucking Christ. An elementary schooler could figure out this metaphor, dude. Like, Jesus fucking Christ, man.
Several genders.
Yep.
There are several different cultures throughout the world that celebrate.
Literally, the concept of two genders comes down to white supremacy and colonialization from the West. Literally, the two gender ideology comes from that bullshit. So, like, when you say that stuff, all I'm hearing is the fact that, like, you've been high-key brainwashed by colonialism and white supremacy.
Different genders, and to negate the
Is this person...
Okay, this is where I'm actually gonna get fucking pissed off. I feel very fucking patronized. The amount of weird racism that liberals fucking express is honestly fucking infuriating. You might as well just say, call me a wetbag and call me a beaner, because it would honestly be easier to fucking pick up than this weird ass bullshit. Okay, so let me get this fucking straight. You think that your need to be called a plural somehow is aligned with white supremacy and colonization from the West? Let me get this fucking straight. Black people being sold, right? Treated as property, raped, fucking forced to, work until the day they fucking died, given no rights to themselves, right? You're talking about Spaniards who came on to the west coast of North America, right? My ancestors, with their culture taken away from them, their land stripped, right? Forced to learn Spanish, forced to work on Spanish missions, right? The generational trauma that's inflicted onto them that is still being forced on me and my brothers and sisters in right now, right fucking today. You're somehow telling me that our generational trauma, right, somehow fucking aligns with your retarded need to be called a fucking plural? And this is where your bullshit fucking loses. And even if I fucking give you some kind of retarded ass leeway, alright, and I fucking believe your retarded ideas of this and of fucking patriarchy, okay? Guess who was a part of white man's crimes against fucking humanity, you retarded piece of shit? That's right, you, white women. You rolled around in the motherfucking blood money for as long as you fucking could. You may have not liked the cut that you got, but guess what? You still fucking got a cut, you retarded piece of shit. Like, goddamn, man. I tell you, the way that white women have swung their Gucci booted fucking feet over the line of oppression will always fucking baffle me, right? Like, it's no fucking secret that all these people coming out as non-binary, all these weird ass new fucking genders, they're all middle class white people, right? Who need something to fucking complain about. How is this not anything more? You are seriously fucking claiming that the generational trauma that black and brown people face today somehow aligns with your need to be called a fucking plural, right? Like, how does this make sense to anybody? To you even? And watch, her bullshit thing is probably gonna be like, well, guess what? Like, some black and brown people agree with me. Cool, guess what? Candace Owens agrees with a lot of Republicans. Should her weird stance on BLM now be validated, even though this many laws have been passed and helped out so many marginalized people? Alex Jones has Blair White, who agrees with them. They both agree with stuff on each other. Does that mean that they both should do, does that mean that, all the things that Blair White says should be implemented? Like, careful how you phrase shit, you fucking retard. Like, honestly, this is fucking bullshit. Like, this is the fucking retarded shit that's, like, making people on the left look weird, right? Like, I am a Democrat, I am left-leaning. But if this is what it means to be left now, it's like, dude, like, goddamn, man. Like, this is why more people are becoming conservative. This is why more people are becoming Republican, right? Because right now with this shit, you are not making any motherfucking sense at all, right? And you realize that even if you wanted to try to make sense, you have a fucking lot to prove, right? You have a huge fucking reach to even come close to making a correlation between those fucking two, right? This is why people like Amala are blowing up. This is why people like Ben Shapiro are blowing up. Brent Cooper, Matt Walsh, Michael Knowles, all these motherfuckers are blowing up because of retarded shit that people on the left, that people like Lynn Saga fucking say. Like, it's no fucking coincidence, right? And if you look at it, the numbers for LGBTQ acceptance rates, they are going down. And it's because of the shit like bullshit like this, right? Where you try to take our experiences and pass them off as your own, right? Like, how many more times do we have to hear that black and brown women complain that white women use them in feminism?
The feminist movement does not benefit POC in any shape or form. It especially does not benefit black women. And the darker your skin is, the more you are used. I call us black women as the bullets for the feminist movement.
If we're talking historically, if we're talking how feminist movements started, it was an exclusionary movement.
Absolutely.
If we go back to the suffragettes or even further, black women were not allowed to join in that effort because they really weren't fighting for black women.
Until we were used as bullets.
Right.
I somewhat agree, like, that white feminist voices are too loud, but then I think that they've become really good at using black women or black faces when they want to, you know, push their movement further. Definitely see what you're saying. I just hate, like, when some of these movements use black women when it's convenient for them.
We can even see it in media reflected to this day. In Little Fires Everywhere, the character of Lexi needs a sob story in order to get into college, so she takes Pearl's story about her having to face racism, not being allowed to take the same math class, and instead makes it about her being a woman, right? We see this media reflected even to this day, right? And it was only at the end of the series did she ever actually tell the truth about the whole situation.
Not. I am. I used Pearl. I stole her story to get into Yale. I wrote her name down at the clinic. Mom, I got pregnant. I got the abortion, not her. And I mean, it tried.
The U.S., you know, in the 60s with women's rights movements and things of that nature, it was mainly championed by white women who are looking for the opportunity to work outside the home and get equal pay. And what's missing from that equation is the fact that in order for them to work outside the home, black women and other women of color were working inside their homes to take care of their children.
Absolutely.
But those women were not taken into consideration in this movement.
Now let's get back to the logical fallacies, shall we?
Having sex and gender being two different things.
They are different things, though. Hello?
So I believe that there is, they're the same. They're one and the same. They're
But they're not. They are not the same.
not different,
Explain femboys to me, then.
but we have evolutionary problems within humanity because I also see that there are intersex animals that do exist, and that's how they're born. But I also do believe that the initial design was for man and woman, and then somewhere along the way, viruses, mutations.
Oh my
diseases.
god! He's literally calling intersex people mutations? How is this okay? What the fuck?
Gender
I
and
just want
sex have
people
been
to-
the same thing for forever, okay? So you're just gonna have to be patient with people who still think that they're the same thing. And then she asks some kind of gotcha question like, femboys, it's like, dude, they're just very, very feminine guys. Same way that muscle mommies are just very, very masculine women. And dude, intersex is literally a mutation. This is the definition of a mutation, and this clearly aligns with the definition of a mutation. Dumbass. A mutation is pretty much just anything that evolves from just the normal, right? So by definition, intersex is a mutation. The Ninja Turtles are mutants because they have human qualities. The X-Men are mutants because they possess the X gene. It's not that deep and it's not that hard. Be better. The point is, mutations can be either really big or really small. People born with different eye colors, that is considered a mutation. Lin Saga, your pale ass skin, where you have never gone outside to actually touch grass, is quite literally a mutation, dumbass. I will say that him adding viruses and plagues did make it seem like an overall negative thing, but mutations can be either good or bad depending on who you ask, okay?
There's no biomarker for trans. Some brain scan of some gay males is identical to female brain, but there is no biomarker for trans.
Why are they talking about this? I'm so
There's
confused.
science that hints towards it. It's just not confirmed.
No, there's research.
So therefore, it falls under the belief that there is, but there is
I don't actually know any of this science, so I'm not going to say anything.
You haven't shown that you know anything about what you're talking about so far. All you've done is make your community look bad and make everybody around you look bad. Be better. And again, there is scientific proof with gender dysphoria that people are literally born in the wrong body.
Feel comfortable talking about this.
God's initial intent was to create.
I don't give a shit about your God. Why are you talking about God in this context? Literally take religion out of this. Give me an actual argument. Literally take your God out. Give me an actual intellectual argument, please.
So he's talking about God because that's literally the prompt. And I would argue that he's actually making more intellectual arguments than you are. At least at the moment, anyways. Actually, wait, never mind. He said Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. Point retracted.
Also, but what I found very interesting was like this divide between trans men and trans women.
There
When we
is.
first started
There is a divide between trans men, trans women, and non-binary people. Even though we fall under the same umbrella, there is such a disconnect. And there's such a difference between how binary trans women are treated, binary trans men are treated, and then non-binary people are treated within the community.
You can acknowledge that you have similar experiences, but to say that you're the same as a transgender person when you're just non-binary is just false. You guys have different experiences overall. A non-binary person, their discomfort usually just gets alleviated when they change their hair and their pronouns. A transgender person has to go through an entire medical and social transition in order to actually feel comfortable in their own skin. Alright, allyship is obviously important, but understand to back off when people don't want you in their particular movement, but still be an ally in the ways that you can be.
There's this channel from this guy. He's called The Offensive Tranny, I think. I'm sorry, I hate saying that word, but that's the name of his channel. And he did a video on me. Like, he did a video on me with the video that I did about 5 signs that you might be non-binary, and he like went through. I didn't watch the video. Hand to God, did not watch the video, but all the comments were like, they have so much. Well, first of all, misgendering me the whole time, but they were just like, they have so much internalized misogyny. That why is it that non-binary people never know how to like actually express or like use non-gendered vocabulary? And I'm like, bro, what other vocabulary can I fucking use other than the gendered ones, and that I don't feel like this or this because we don't have the actual language for it. It was so dumb. My current name Miss started as a joke.
So if you don't know, the offensive tranny, aka Marcus, did a reaction to one of Linsaga's videos, and I mean, he pretty much just spread yo cheeks like bread and drilled. And that's one of the issues that a lot of people have with non-binary people, is just that it really is just a feeling, and like intellectually, you're kind of always going to lose. I mean, look at Misha Petrov and Ryan Beard. She annihilated him on everything that, you know, every point that he made. And Linsaga continues to make her community look bad. The smart thing to do would be to watch the offensive tranny's video, see his counter-arguments, and develop counter-arguments for that video, and at least try to address them in a later video. Maybe not directly to him, but at least in a way to defend your own identity. But that would be the smart thing to do, wouldn't it? I feel like Hassan Piker ruined a lot of people on the left in the sense that all he does is do shame, and he's patronizing everything that he does. This is even reflected in the way that he watches videos. Remember when Gideon posted that video where he went to the most racist town in the USA and he interviewed one of the members of the KKK? Hassan was more patronizing and more racist than the actual fucking white separationist than Gideon interviewed. Like, that is, like, wow. Linsaga, I think you need to understand that when you come off as patronizing or when you come off as using shame as a tactic to get people on your side, you're oftentimes going to push them further leaning into the right. Take what happened with Abba and Preach and Hassan Piker. Abba and Preach said some very reasonable things, but guess what? 2 seconds into the video, Hassan just said they're transphobic and, you know, just calling them every slur in the book. Now, people from his audience actually went and educated themselves by watching the video that they had made, and lo and behold, they actually saw that they weren't transphobic, they weren't any of the things that Hassan actually said, and they actually subscribed to them, and Hassan's losing viewers a little bit. Now, Abba and Preach, they are center left-leaning, right? But the way it works on YouTube is that if you're in the center or even look a bit right-leaning, they're going to recommend you more and more right-leaning stuff. That's why I always watch them incognito, because even when you look their name up, you often get recommended Russell Brand and Steven Crowder when you look them up. Do you not see that in his way and in your way, Linsaga, patronizing and trying to just outright not let people speak is making people go to the other side? And the way the YouTube algorithm works, they're going to get recommended more and more harsher belief systems, and that is how you get people radicalized. The smart thing to do would be to just approach the situation in the same way that Samantha Lux and Jesse Gender do, in a way that's to actually educate your audience rather than to shame them or patronize them. Obviously, does Samantha Lux get things right 100% of the time? No, her videos on the trans athlete stuff and some of the Ariel Scarella stuff is laughable at best. But I will say that her debunking Ben Shapiro stuff was pretty powerful, right? And even Jessie Gender. I didn't agree with some of the things that she said in her Dave Chappelle video, but the fact that she flat out admitted that she is a middle-class white woman and the fact that there is a lot of nuance in the conversation is beautiful. That allows for there to be a conversation. And even when you look at the comments to this day, people are having very civil conversations about edgy jokes and about the Dave Chappelle special on Netflix. And again, they aren't calling people transphobic. They aren't trying to not understand a conversation, right? They're trying to educate their audiences, because while they know that the people who they're reacting to may be too far gone, the audience can still be swayed into the right direction. That's how we get beautiful comments like these, right? This person full out agreed with everything Ben Shapiro had to say about transgender individuals, but because Samantha Lux went step by step disproving everything he had said, automatically he realized that he was in the wrong and he will now try his best to be a good ally, right? Same thing with the Jessie Gender video. This is beautiful. This is how you actually provoke change. Not by immediately calling someone transphobic, not by not trying to understand someone, not by not trying to have the cognitive skills necessary to actually understand a gender conversation. And as much as they're trying to be allies, people like Linsaga and Hassan are actively trying their best to actually hurt the communities that they're trying to protect, right? Look at the offensive trans video. He is ranking numbers, right? And he is of the full belief that non-binary people don't exist. And the fact that he used Linsaga's video is just going to further ignite people coming to his channel, seeing his opinions, and further radicalizing them into not believing that non-binary people are not real. I also think there is a conversation to be had about the QIA plus part of the LGBTQ community, right? Even when you go on TikTok, you can tell a lot of these people just are suffering through different problems. Body dysmorphia is a legitimate thing. And Linsaga, if I am being honest, the dysmorphia you have with your chest, it sounds more like body dysmorphia rather than gender dysphoria. But that is just my opinion. Don't mean this in any harm or anything. That's just my opinion. If you disagree, it's okay if you disagree. I'm just putting my 2 cents out there. And going back to the way that people perceive you, you understand that when you have weirdos out here calling themselves Ezer Zim or Faye Fair Fairy, right? You're making people on the left and people like yourself look bad, right? You're promoting this idea that all of this community is toxic, and you're promoting people to move more towards the right in political senses, right? Again, that's why people like Brett Cooper are skyrocketing. That's why Ben Shapiro is skyrocketing. That's why Matt Walsh is skyrocketing. I don't know, this video was meant to just educate other people and help to show that Lynn Saga doesn't really know what they're talking about. If you really want to defend your own community, I suggest you watch someone like Nominal Naomi, who is an actual PhD student and actually offers scientific proof to back everything that they're trying to say, right? And again, Lynn Saga, I am genuinely fucking offended that you try to compare my generational trauma, the generational trauma of my brothers and my sisters, to your need to be called a plural. If you'd like to apologize, I mean, I'll take it, you know what I mean? But as of this moment, I am genuinely offended. And the fact that I feel that you can just say this shit while knowing that you're offending people is definitely a problem. This is patronizing. This is the liberal racism that Jadian was talking about when he reacted to Hassan's reaction. While people like Lynn Saga and Hassan might not actually like take critiques and actually learn how they could improve, I hope that the audience at least understands this. You can't be saying stuff like this, alright? Because when it gets turned on you, you're going to make your own community look bad. Please just try to educate yourself. And Lynn Saga, again, I did this to try to help you understand. I do feel offended about the patronizing thing, and I will take I'm not asking for an apology. But if you would like to, hey, I wouldn't complain. Anyways, I can subscribe, and tour reviews coming soon, I guess. Bye, Asuka, I guess.